Welcome everybody. I'm here with Arielle Ford, who is the author of many, many books on love and relationships. She's an incredible author. She's also a former marketing genius to some of the big names in the field of consciousness and wellness. And she has now come out with a brand new book. It's her first novel. It's just out now, and it's called The Love Thief. The Love Thief is a really fabulous, fun, easy read that you really, actually, once you start reading, you can't put it down. But what's most important I find about this book is that so many of us who read it feel like we were in some way there. It's very real, very relevant. A lot of us see ourselves in that main character. So Arielle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to be with you and your tribe.
Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about what is a love thief?
Well, a love thief is somebody who will steal and break your heart, crush your dreams, and basically make you think you're a crazy person. It's a toxic narcissist / sociopath. So this book is about a woman, a very sort of ordinary 38-year-old woman who's a chef here in San Diego, and her whole life she's been looking for Prince Charming. She wants the white picket fence, the 2 kids and a dog, and it's been evading her. It didn't happen until one night under a firework-filled starry sky, she meets him. And things move very quickly. Like within 24 hours, he's telling her, I think I've been looking for you my entire life. And he says, we are going to have the most incredible life together. I want to have more children. I've always wanted to have more children. You know, and in the meantime, her ovaries are screaming at her like she's 37 and a half, got to have kids. And so what happens with a love thief is they love bomb you. You're love bomb. That's an actual psychological term where somebody sweeps you off your feet and they whisper in your ear everything you ever wanted to hear. And there's a part of you that's like, oh, this is too good to be true. But at the same time, your brain is now on drugs. Your brain is on dopamine and adrenaline and oxytocin, and you're falling in love with a stranger thinking, oh my God, I've hit the jackpot. And for 2 or 3 months, they're everything you ever hoped for, until one day who they really are, a love thief, shows up, and now you're confused. Now you don't understand. It's like, where's the guy who was whining and dining and romancing me and seemed to hear and see and feel me in a way I've never had before? And now he's lying to me, and he's not doing what he said he was going to do, and he's looks like he's stealing my money. What happened? I'm a smart, successful, attractive person. I never asked for this, and yet I'm hooked in a way I've never been hooked before. And I use the word hooked specifically because you're an addict. You are now an addict, and your drug of choice is the feeling of being in love, your brain on drugs. I call being in love the socially acceptable form of insanity. Because that's really what it is. You're not yourself, right? You're attached to these feelings. Well, he was so great and it felt so good. And I know that good guy's in there. Where did he go? How can I get him back? What can I do? Am I crazy? Am I making up stories? Am I looking for reasons for trouble? And you're not. You're being gaslighted. You know, why did it happen to you? It happened to you because these guys target smart, successful, beautiful women. They look for trophy wives. They look for arm candy, and they look for money, right? So, you know, if you're down on your luck on a lot of different levels, this probably won't happen to you. You may get some other kind of bad guy, but not this kind. These guys are super smart. They're very charismatic. They're uber charming. And they know exactly how to whisper into the ear of a successful single woman who has everything she ever wanted except the partner. And they go in for the kill.
Wow. So you call it the love thief. You call this character a love thief. Are they a love thief because they steal your love, or because they use love as the tool by which to steal your life, your money, your stuff?
All of the above.
Okay.
You know, there's a line in the book where Holly, my protagonist, is sitting with the man I like to call her love walla. He's a retired professor of psychology, and he is very kind, loving, caring, sympathetic, empathetic, and he's kind of like her guide. And she says to him, did he ever love me? And he says, asking a man like this to love you is like asking a man with no arms to hold you. Impossible. Because
Wow.
they're incapable of love. They're
Wow.
incapable of empathy and compassion. They're sick people, and there is no cure for it. The only cure for you is to run. Your heart's broken, right? Your big dream of I found the one is crushed. Chances are your bank account's been empty, but you've got to run. Okay, there's no there. And
Mhm.
you know, a lot of women stick around because it's kind of like sales psychology. I've got all this time and energy invested. You know,
Yeah.
I know he's in there somewhere. Let me get him back. And
Yeah.
even in retrospect, they know the red flags were there and they stepped over them. You know, the opening line of the book, which is the
Mhm.
first line that came to me, was, my mother was right.
Yeah. So great.
So either your mother told you or a good friend, somebody warned you
Yeah.
and you didn't want to hear it.
Yeah. I guess because you were in love.
Yeah,
You
no,
were,
you were a drug addict.
yeah.
You know, like you probably were in bed within 24, 48 hours because here he is. Oh my God, how could you still be single? You were such a catch. I've been looking for you my whole life. Thank God I found you. Now that I found you, I'm never going to let you go. Who
Mhm.
doesn't want to hear that?
Mhm.
You know, even though now that you've done it once, hopefully you won't do it twice, because when you're being love bombed,
Mhm.
right? They're after you, you know, you're being, you know, it's like how they turn out girls in drug trafficking. You know, they shoot you up with heroin and they buy you gifts, and then suddenly you can't leave on any level. You're trapped. And that's what these love thieves do. They trap you.
That's amazing. So I was just thinking the other day when I was thinking about the name of your book, I was remembering a movie that I used to love, and it's called To Catch a Thief. Right? It's like a 1950s movie with Cary Grant, and he's very suave and he wears the dinner jackets and they go to beautiful events in the south of France. But what I was thinking is he is actually a thief. He's a cat burglar. And
Yeah.
yet the way that he's presented is he's so debonair, he's so charming that the women fall in love with him. And I was thinking that really is what, in a way, what we're sold. Do you see what I'm saying? That
Yes,
people
it's
think
the
it's so.
same thing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's the tuxedo and the banter and the dimples and the smile and, you know, the martini shaken not stirred. You know, and it's, you know, and we all aspire to have this big romance. Now, what does it have to do with reality? Absolutely nothing. And part of that problem is that we have been brainwashed through fairy tales and Disney movies that some prince on a white horse is going to come and rescue us. Thank God we live in a day and age we don't need to be rescued, right? We actually don't even need men. I tell all these women I know, you don't need a man. If you desire one, great. They will be the icing on the cake of your life. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody needs, you know, we don't need it. As long as we have friends and family and we have connection and community, nobody needs a partner. If
Yeah.
you desire one, then yes, definitely manifest one. That's what I do for a living. I teach women how to find love, keep love, and be love. I'm a big proponent of life is better as a two than a one, but that's just for me,
Yeah.
right? So we have to really understand that love, what we call love, the state of being in love, is not love. It's nature's greatest drug high. It's nature's greatest trick to get us to procreate and keep the species going. But you're doing this with a stranger. This is not love, right?
Yeah.
Real mature adult love. And some of you are going to hate me for saying this, but listen up. Real mature adult love is a behavior, and it's a choice, and it's a decision. It's an act. It's a way of being. And yes, there are good feelings, but those good feelings come and go. And when they're not there, it doesn't mean that you don't love them. You know, I
Mm.
tell people all the time, I'm crazy about my husband. We've been married 25 years. He is definitely my soulmate life partner. And there are moments when I hate him. And it doesn't mean that I don't love him. You
Yeah.
know, it's hard to live with somebody. You know, other humans are very annoying. So, I figured this out after I got married. And then I thought, well, I need to become a student of love. I know he's the person I'm meant to be with, but now I have to learn, how do I live happily ever after, or happily even after,
Oh, nice
with this
term.
person who is as imperfect as I am.
Yeah.
There's a quote, my favorite quote in the world is from Sam Keen. And Sam Keen says, "We come to love not to find a perfect person, but to learn to love an imperfect person perfectly."
Oh, God, that's beautiful. Can you say that again? That's so beautiful.
Yes, we come to love not to find a perfect person, but to learn to love an imperfect person perfectly.
That's so beautiful. So what I really love here is that you're framing for us what we do want to look for and versus what we don't want to look for. So if we're going to catch a love thief, to just play on the name of this movie, instead of to catch a thief, to catch a love thief, we need to know what is love, what are we actually looking for if we want love in our lives, versus what are the red flags of these love thieves.
Yeah, and the red flags are pretty simple. They're super charming. They come on really fast. They move things way at a pace way too quickly, right? And then, they start to lie, right? Now, the really super smart ones, if you catch them in a lie, they'll say to you, "Well, yes, maybe I did exaggerate a little bit, but let me explain to you." And then they spin so that you feel better. So they're masters at taking you out of the state of, oh, that's a big red flag, something's wrong. And they know how to sweet talk you back into the place where you want to be, where you're having the drug high again. And then understanding what love is really means putting on your big girl panties, right? And being emotionally mature and understanding that, I always say the Beatles song, "All You Need Is Love," is a big fat lie. It is not true when it comes to partnership and marriage. Love is not enough. And the studies have shown that what it takes to have a long-term, happy, healthy, committed partnership is that you need 5 things. You need connection, compatibility, communication, which thank God can be learned, some chemistry, although chemistry is not the most important. The single most important factor in predicting a long-term, happy, healthy marriage, having a shared vision for the future.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Having a shared vision for the future. See, I didn't even mention love, right? Because that's just a feeling. So you can have all of that and have loving feelings come and go, but don't decide, well, I don't have those being in love feelings anymore. So maybe now I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Therefore, I need to leave because the grass is greener over there, because you're an addict. You want to go for the feelings to tell you that you have this great partner. People are constantly divorcing great partners for reasons that can be fixed, right? Because what you're looking for is, for me, it was like my idea of a soulmate is somebody that is my best friend, my lover, my safe place to land, my biggest cheerleader, will tell me the truth, but in a kind and gentle way. And most importantly, somebody that I feel physically and emotionally safe with. That's what all humans want more than anything. We want to feel physically and emotionally safe. You need some chemistry, but it doesn't, if the chemistry is the connector, if that hot, super crazy sex is the connector, then you're just going for more drug high, right? You're not looking, are we really compatible? Do we really have connection? Like you could have the greatest sex in the world, but if they're not financially responsible, if they don't share your vision for the future, at some point you're just going to need more lubricant, right? It's just more sex, and I sort of learned this the hard way, because when I was younger, I was very into taking tantra workshops, and I was thinking, oh God, when I get married, I'm going to get to have sex every day, and then I discovered, well, A, you have to have a partner who wants to have sex every day. And even that gets old. Even that becomes work, because then it's not even special anymore. It's just a tension releaser or however you're using it. So for me, the whole, finding love, I always say was the easy part, even though it took me till I was 44. Keeping love is the whole purpose of work and work in relationship. And Harville Hendrix, I think, says it the most beautifully. He says that the purpose of taking sacred vows for a soulmate marriage is that you put the two of you into a sacred container where all of your childhood wounds can come up for healing.
Mhm.
That's the purpose of the soulmate relationship.
Wow.
My husband's definition is, he says that in basic arithmetic, 1 + 1 = 2. But in soulmate love, 1 + 1 = 11, and your love blesses the world. So that you two together are a more powerful force to share love with the world.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Well, what Harville Hendrix says makes you think it's a very, very sacred trust, a place where you can be vulnerable. And like you said, but you also feel safe enough that you can heal your childhood wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sacred love is a healing part, a healing path. It's definitely a spiritual path, because if being, there's so many definitions of spirituality. There's the LA version, which is, oh, I get up in the morning, I do hot yoga, I have a green drink, I go to Whole Foods, I eat non-GMO organic food, and then I go to do my Peloton in the afternoon, and then I meditate. Therefore, I'm spiritual. And I was like, no, there's actually nothing that you did in there is spiritual. It's a healthy lifestyle. Spirituality is about being centered in your heart and being compassionate to yourself and others and doing acts of seva, which is different from a healthy lifestyle. And if you have both combined, you may live longer, you may not. Nobody really knows for sure. I've watched plenty of people who are very strict with what they eat, and they meditate twice a day, and they end up stroking out here and there. And it wasn't because they didn't try to be healthy. It's karma, like we don't get to choose everything. It's like,
I have this question I'm thinking about as you're speaking in terms of the healthy life. You've written so much about helping people really, as you said, find love, enjoy love, be love. Why did you want to write a book about a love thief?
I actually didn't want to write this book. What happened was it came to me like a movie in my head. And I could see that it was a novel. I've never written fiction, never even had the conscious thought I should write a novel. Didn't want to write it. And it kept playing out in my head. The title came to me. Then the first line of the book came. And then I got an email one day from masterclass.com that said, oh, we have a new course with Dan Brown on how to write a thriller. And I love Dan Brown. I'm a fangirl. And I thought, oh, that'd be fun to take the course. I had the year-long membership, wasn't going to cost me anything. So I sign up for the course. And the movie in my head still playing, and I see that it mostly takes place in Rishikesh, which I'd been to and I liked. And now I'm on episode 3 of the Dan Brown course. And he says, today we're going to talk about location as a character in the book, just as Florence, Italy was a character in the Da Vinci Code. And this like light bulb goes off. Oh my God. Rishikesh as a character in my book. If I'm going to write this book that I don't want to write, I'm going to have to go to Rishikesh. And I kept thinking, you know what? I don't want to write this book. So I sat down and I talked to God and I said, listen, God, I really don't want to write this book. But if I'm meant to write the book, then I need to manifest a $7,000 business class ticket to India because I'm too tall to go coach. I'm just not going to do it. 48 hours later, I had the ticket in my hand. Like magic happened. And I went to Rishikesh, and everything I saw in my head, I tripped over. Everywhere I went, magic happened. I was manifesting at a speed I can't even calculate. It was like instant. I would have a thought and it would happen. I would think, oh, I wonder if a bookstore like the one I see in my movie really exists. And I turn and it's like, oh, let me walk up those stairs. And I walk in and the bookstore looks exactly like the picture in my head. The guy who owns the bookstore looks exactly like the guy in my head, so it was all magic. And I came home and I started writing, not really knowing what I was doing. And it took 4.5 years to write the
Wow.
book
Wow.
because I didn't know how to write a novel. So I had to write and rewrite and get freelance editors and get book doctors and get my agent who was all over me to keep rewriting. And it was a process. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm so happy that I did it. And I'm glad I didn't know how long it was going to take. Because if somebody had said, oh yeah, you're going to spend 4.5 years working on this, it's like, no way, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So if we put together some of the things you said, spirituality is heart-centered, your love together blesses the world. I feel like it could be said that your heart-centered creativity could be a blessing to the world.
Well,
And
that would be lovely. I mean, it was never on the to-do list to do that. But, now that the book is done, the most satisfying part is that I get calls from women I know and women I don't know who kind of whisper to me on the phone, you wrote this book for me. It's like,
yeah.
I did? I don't even know you. Oh, no, you've perfectly described everything that I went through. Like, how did you know?
Wow.
And the reason that I knew was because 3 women very close to me had relationships like the kind of relationship Holly has in the book. And I was the person on the other end of the phone listening to them rage and carry on and be super angry or be totally depressed and suicidal and experiencing all kinds of grief that comes with betrayal. So I was able to tap into those experiences and put them on the page, or what I like to call bleeding on the page, like open an artery and bleed on the page.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's very satisfying because I realize that almost every woman I know has had at least one relationship like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how common it is. So if we could just finish by once again letting people know, anybody who reads the book and identifies with the main character, Holly, what do we want them to know? I love how in the beginning you affirmed that love thieves go after women who are successful, smart, capable, right? What else do we want them to know before we?
That, you've heard the phrase, a lotus grows in the mud. So when you're at the bottom of your own mud pit, when the worst parts of your life have, imploded on you, the message of the book is, the good news is you're on your way to the greatest moments of your life. Like right now, you're in unimaginable pain. And if you just pay attention and follow the signs and allow yourself to be pulled back up, you will have a life you can't even imagine. So that there is hope and possibility. Because Holly nearly dies at the beginning of the book. Not only is her heart broken and her money stolen, she nearly dies in a car accident. And she has to recover emotionally, physically, spiritually, on every single level. And she wasn't a seeker. She wasn't a believer. She was a reaction to her baby boom new age mother who hung dream catchers over her crib. She was not this. And yet, through divine guidance, she ends up in Rishikesh, the meditation yoga capital of the world, the place where the veils are thinner between the worlds, and ends up having all these magical, mystical healing experiences that change the direction of her life.
Which is another reason a lot of us see ourselves in the main character, because some of us who have been to Rishikesh or practiced yoga meditation for many years really can see, ourselves in that path and in that transformation. So thank you for writing such an important and impactful book, which I do feel is a blessing to the world. I already know people who are healing their own relationships in their own heart, thanks to your talk about the book and your book. So thank you.
And I need to thank you because I created a bonus for all the book buyers called the Healing the Heart video series. And I asked you and Sean Korn and other major yoga teachers to make a video for me where each one was given a difficult emotion and then to share the yoga philosophy and the yoga poses for healing. So there's betrayal and grief and anger and forgiveness and uncertainty. And I now have this webpage. If you go to thelovethief.com, when you order the book, you get the whole video series instantly for free. And I can't tell you how wonderful it is that people are calling me saying, oh my God, these videos are so great. I can't believe they're free. I did the anger one yesterday and it really helped. And I'm doing betrayal and grief today. And, so that from you was such a gift, because you were the first one who said yes. And
Oh.
once you said yes, then I said, well, Laura Plum said yes. And then, oh, Laura's doing it. So I don't know that that I dropped your name in a lot of ways and it helped.
No, I did not know that. And I feel
Yeah.
very honored by
Yeah.
it. That's wonderful. I'm happy to have been the first to say yes to you.
Yeah.
You're amazing. You've been a great blessing to the world already. And I really hope
Oh,
that
thank you.
blesses many, many people. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.